I watched my mother's face when she realized who I'd become. She was standing in the produce section of Whole Foods, the one in the good part of town, and she literally didn't recognize me at first. When she did, her hand went to her mouth, her eyes filled with tears. But here's what made my skin crawl. Those tears weren't for me, they were for herself. Because 18 months earlier, she'd locked me out, literally closed the door of the house I grew up in while my 3 children stood behind me with their overnight bags. And now I owned the building across the street. Mrs. Stark here, and today I'm telling you the story of what I built from nothing. A motel room, a broken car, and a promise I whispered to myself on a stranger's porch the night my own family turned their backs.
Before I was the woman standing in Whole Foods, I was someone else entirely. I was Coralie Mitchell, 34 years old, married to a man named David. We had a nice life. Not rich, but nice. The kind of life you see in suburban developments where everyone has similar cars and similar problems, and everyone pretends they don't see the cracks forming. We had a mortgage, of course we did. A little colonial on Maple Street with a 2-car garage and an HOA that nickel and dimed us for everything. Our kids, Emma, who was 8, Tyler, who was 6, and baby Sophia, 3, they had their own rooms, their own things. We did Target runs on Saturdays. We had Starbucks gift cards in the drawer. We looked like people who had their lives together. David looked like a lot of things. He was a contractor, self-employed, which meant our income fluctuated. Some months were great, some months were less great. I worked part-time as a dental hygienist, 2 days a week at a practice 15 minutes from our house. It gave us breathing room. It gave me something that was mine.
And then David decided to take that breathing room and use it to breathe with someone else. I found out on a Tuesday. Not from him, from his bank statement, which I saw by accident when looking for our mortgage documents. $20,000 transferred to an account I didn't recognize over the course of 3 months. When I asked him, he didn't even lie. He just told me, like he was explaining the weather. "I'm in love with her," he said. We were standing in the kitchen we'd renovated ourselves 2 years before. He wouldn't even look at me. She was his business partner's ex-wife. She lived in Arizona. He was going to move there. He was sorry, but this was what he needed. I remember standing very still. I remember my hands being cold. "What about the kids?" I asked. He looked at me then, and he said, I'll never forget this. He said, "I need to figure out what's best for everyone." What he meant was, I need to figure out what's best for me. The divorce was rough. Not physically rough, but emotionally, financially rough, in ways that change you at your core. David hired a lawyer who was good, not good in an ethical way, good in a way that made sure he paid as little child support as possible, kept as much of the 401k as he could reasonably justify, and left me with a mortgage on a salary that suddenly wasn't enough anymore. I had Emma, Tyler, and Sophia. I had the house David didn't want. I had a part-time job that suddenly needed to be full-time, except it couldn't be because someone had to be home for the kids, and David had made it very clear he wasn't that person. My parents still lived in the same neighborhood where I'd grown up. My mother, Carol, had always been complicated. Critical in that way mothers sometimes are. Never quite satisfied, always seeing the flaws in your choices, always having a better idea of how you should live your life. But she was my mother. When everything fell apart, I thought she would be there. I was wrong. I showed up at their house 3 weeks after David left. I had the kids with me. My dad, Robert, answered the door. He looked older than I remembered, tired. "Hi, Dad," I said. "Can we come in? We need to talk about everything." He didn't say anything for a moment. Then he called for my mom. She came to the door, looked at us standing there on the porch with our bags, and I watched something happen in her face. a calculation, a closing.
Coralie, she said, and that was all. Just my name, like it was a problem to be solved. Mom, the house is going to be taken. The mortgage, David's not paying, my job doesn't cover. I could hear the desperation in my own voice, and I hated it. I hated that I sounded small. You made choices, she said. Marrying David, staying home with the children instead of building a real career, not having a backup plan. As if you can predict when the person you married will decide to abandon you for a real estate agent in Phoenix. Carol, maybe we should... My father started, but she held up her hand. There is no room here, she said. We can't take on 4 more people. We have our own life, our own expenses. I could see past her into the house, into the living room where they'd retired just 2 years before, where they'd bragged about their savings, their travel plans, their financial freedom. My father's eyes met mine for just a second. I saw something there. Guilt, maybe? Or sadness, but not enough to make him override my mother. I need you to leave, she said. Not unkindly, just firmly, like she was closing a door that had never really been open to begin with. I turned around. I took Emma's hand, and I held Tyler's shoulder, and I picked up Sophia, who was asking why Grandma sounded mean. As we walked to the car, I heard my father slowly closing the door behind us.
I had 2 siblings. Michael, my older brother, was 38, worked in finance, and had moved back into our parents' house after his divorce the year before. He had it made. No mortgage, no rent, just living in the family home while he figured things out. He made decent money. He could have helped. My sister, Lindsay, was 31, married to a guy named Steve, and she'd always been the golden child. Perfect marriage, no kids yet. Both of them worked corporate jobs, owned a townhouse, had their lives in order. I called Michael first, after leaving my parents' place. Can we stay with you just for a few weeks until I figure out what's happening with the house? He laughed. Actually laughed.
That's not going to work, Coralie. I'm just getting my head on straight here. I don't have the capacity for 3 kids right now. Michael, I have nowhere to go. Maybe your mom was right. You should have planned better. This is on you. I heard something in the background, a woman's voice. He had someone there. He had a girlfriend, and he was worried about my imposition? I hung up. Lindsay said almost the same thing, except she framed it differently. She said my feelings were valid, but I needed to understand that she and Steve couldn't take on that kind of responsibility. She said I was being dramatic. She said David would probably step up eventually.
David didn't step up. David got married to the real estate agent 6 months later and announced he was starting fresh. That night, I sat in my car in a parking lot off Route 9 with 3 children asleep in the back seat, and I made a decision. Not a plan, not yet, a decision. I couldn't afford the house anymore. The bank sent notices, real notices, the kind that mean business. I had maybe 2 months before foreclosure became real. I didn't have family. I had a job that paid $32,000 a year. I had 3 kids who needed stability and safety and food on the table. I had a 1998 Honda Civic with 190,000 miles. What I did was this. I called Mrs. Patricia Hendricks, who owned a rundown motel called the Evergreen on the edge of town. I'd gone to high school with her son. She wasn't rich, she wasn't fancy. She was a businesswoman who recognized hustle when she saw it. I offered her this. I would manage the motel. Check-ins, check-outs, maintenance coordination, cleaning supplies inventory, the works, in exchange for a room, 1 room, for me and my 3 children. She looked at me for a long time. Then she said yes. The room was small, really small. We had 2 double beds, and I taught the kids that this was temporary.
This was an adventure. This was what we were doing right now. I bought foam mattresses at Target to put on the floor. I organized everything, every toy, every piece of clothing, every book. Because if our space was small, our organization had to be perfect. My first night there, after the kids were asleep, I walked out onto the back porch of the motel office. It was October. There was a cold wind coming off the parking lot, and I stood there and I whispered something to myself that I didn't fully understand at the time. They think I'm finished. They think this is the ending. I'm going to show them it was the beginning. I didn't have a plan yet. I had rage. Clean, cold, productive rage. The kind that doesn't destroy you, it builds you. This is the part that people always want to rush through. They want the dramatic transformation to happen in a montage, but it doesn't work that way. It's slow, it's methodical, it's exhausting. Here's what I did. Month 1 to 2, I worked at the motel managing everything. I also picked up extra shifts at the dental office. I went from 2 days to 4 days a week, which meant Mrs. Hendricks helped with the kids sometimes, and sometimes I hired a babysitter with money I barely had. My income went up. Not much, but up. Month 3, I started taking online courses for a real estate license. I studied at night after the kids were asleep. I listened to podcasts about business, about finance, about building wealth. I learned about mortgages from the other side, not as a victim of one, but as someone who might one day offer them to other people. Months 4 through 6, real estate license acquired. I got my first job at a mid-level real estate firm, part-time at first because I still had the motel work and the dental office work. 3 jobs, 7 days a week. People ask me how I didn't break. Honestly, I was too angry to break. And more than that, I had 3 people depending on me. Emma was 9, Tyler was 7, Sophia was 4. They looked at me like I was everything, and I refused. I refused to become what my family had decided I was. A failure, a woman who couldn't plan, a woman who deserved this situation. Months 7 through 9, my real estate career started gaining traction. I was good at it. I understood what people actually needed because I'd been desperate to find a place to live myself. I could hear what clients were saying beneath what they were saying. I worked in the neighborhoods I knew, the suburban developments with the HOAs and the 401ks, and the people terrified of making the wrong move. Months 10 to 12, I made my first significant commission check, $8,400. I cried. I didn't spend it on myself. I took $3,000 and put it down on a small apartment. I took $2,000 and put it in a savings account for emergencies. The rest went to necessities and a laptop, a real one for real estate work. Months 13 to 18, this is where everything changed. I was at an estate sale, one of those situations where someone's house is being liquidated because they died, or they're moving to a nursing home, or their life has imploded. This particular house was owned by a couple in their 80s who were downsizing. But I noticed something. The property itself was valuable. The land was valuable. The building was run down, but the location, 2 blocks from the downtown corridor that was starting to gentrify, was gold. I looked at the tax records. I checked the comps. I made the math work in my head. I went to every bank that would talk to me, every loan officer, every loan processor. I was a woman with a thin credit history, a recent divorce, and 3 children. I was not what banks usually said yes to. But I found a community bank, First Regional, where the loan officer was a woman named Susan, who'd also been abandoned by her husband 15 years before. She got it. She didn't give me the lowest rate, but she gave me a shot. $180,000 for the property. The building itself needed work, but the land was the real asset. Whew. I took out a loan for renovations. I hired contractors I knew from my real estate network. I worked nights and weekends on the building myself, painting, organizing, cleaning, planning layouts. 18 months after the night I stood on that porch and whispered to myself, I opened the doors to Coralie's court,
a boutique hotel and co-working space built on that piece of land that the universe had somehow put in front of me. 32 rooms, sustainable, beautiful, designed for solo travelers and remote workers, people who didn't want a massive chain hotel but needed something more professional than a motel room. I was 36 years old. I had 3 children who now had their own rooms in an apartment I owned. I had a 401k because I'd made sure of that even when I was broke. I had health insurance. I had a business that was actually mine. And I had something else. I had become completely unrecognizable to everyone who'd abandoned me.
People knew who I was, of course. You can't live in a town this size and do something like this without people noticing. But my family, they weren't really paying attention. They were living their lives, comfortable and secure in their choices about me. Until they couldn't ignore me anymore. My mother first. She was at Whole Foods, like I said. I was stocking her preferred brand of olive oil in my office. I'd done a photo shoot that day for the hotel's marketing materials, and my team had bought ingredients for a small celebration. I was in the produce section looking for tomatoes, and she walked past me. For a second, she didn't see me. Then she did. "Coralie?" I turned. I was wearing a blazer I'd bought at a boutique, a real one, not Target. My hair was styled, my nails were done. I looked like someone who had finally figured out how to take care of herself. "Hi, Mom," I said. My voice was calm, it was professional. It was not angry or desperate or anything she'd ever heard from me before.
Her hand went to her mouth. I didn't recognize you." "I know," I said. "Most people don't." We talked for 5 minutes. Awkward minutes. She asked about the kids. She asked what I was doing. I told her about the hotel. Not as a confession, not as a plea for approval, but as a simple statement of fact. This is what my life is now. She kept trying to reconnect, inviting us for Thanksgiving, calling on my birthday, but something had broken that couldn't be fixed. Not because I held a grudge. I didn't. I genuinely didn't. But because I'd built my life without her, and now she was trying to occupy space in it that I hadn't left open. My brother called me 6 months after my mom saw me at Whole Foods. "I heard about the hotel," he said. That's impressive. Thanks," I said. "Look, I was thinking, I have this friend who's looking for an investment opportunity, and I was wondering if..." I cut him off. Not unkindly.
"Michael, I'm not going to help you financially. That would be weird for both of us. But if your friend wants to stay at the hotel, they get the same rate as anyone else." He tried to apologize eventually. He tried to reframe his past behavior as him just being in a bad place. But I'd learned something crucial during those 18 months. Other people's bad places are not my responsibility. I'd been drowning, and they'd turned away. Now I was building, and I wasn't going to let their regret become my burden. My sister actually reached out and wanted to have lunch. "I'm so proud of you," she said. "Like, genuinely. What you've built is incredible. Thank you," I said. That means something. But we both knew it didn't. Not really. You can't unclick the moment someone tells you that your feelings don't matter when your whole world is falling apart. You can forgive it, maybe. You can release it. But you can't unhear it. My father, he came to the opening of Coralie's court. He came quietly, stood in the back, looked around at what I'd built, and I saw tears in his eyes. After, he asked to talk to me outside. "I'm sorry. I should have stood up to your mother. I should have offered you something." "I know," I said. "It wasn't cruel, it was just true. Can I help now? Is there anything you need?" And I looked at this man who'd slowly closed a door on me and my children, and I realized something strange. I didn't need anything from him anymore. I'd gotten past the place where his help would have been salvation. I was standing in a place he'd never reach now. "No, Dad," I said, "but thank you for asking."
Here's what people don't understand about revenge. About real, meaningful, lasting revenge. It's not about humiliation. It's not about making someone feel as bad as you felt. It's not about proving them wrong so they finally see your value. It's about building a life so good, so undeniably real and solid and yours, that their rejection becomes irrelevant. My mother's tears at Whole Foods weren't because she felt guilty about me. They were because she finally understood what she lost. Not a daughter who needed her, but a daughter who would have given her the privilege of being part of this extraordinary journey. My brother's business inquiry wasn't an apology, it was opportunism dressed up as regret. My sister's pride wasn't a bridge, it was an acknowledgement of something she'd destroyed and could never rebuild. And my father? He learned too late that some doors, once closed, stay closed. The real karma wasn't what happened to them. The karma was what happened to me. The real revenge was my life.
I'm Mrs. Stark, and I'm telling you this story because I know there's someone watching right now who feels the way I felt that night on the porch. You're standing in your worst moment, looking at people who were supposed to catch you as they walk away. Let me tell you something. That moment isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning. Here's what I want to know from you. Have you ever been rejected by the people who should have loved you? And more importantly, what did you build from that pain? Drop your stories in the comments. Let's create a community of people who didn't wait for permission to rebuild their lives, who didn't need anyone's approval to become extraordinary. Thank you for being here. Subscribe if you believe in karma, the real kind, the kind where your excellence is your revenge. I'll see you next time.